What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Girl Dadding Podcast, a weekly podcast with two girls and their dad. I am Kanaya. We have Kiani and our dad, Marcel. And we come together once a week to talk about topics, events, subjects, anything of the sort that affects the father-daughter relationship, but more specifically, giving you insight into our relationship with each other as sisters, our dad, and how we view the world through those lenses. And so we have part two of our Rites of Passage episode. Let's get into it.
All right, y'all, let's get it.
So moving on to driving. I equate driving with walking. The first year or so of your lives, in order for you to get anywhere, someone had to carry you. Truth be told, I got tired of having to carry you everywhere. And so I was very excited when you all started walking. And I remember where each of you were when you took your first steps. Kanaya, we were in the house, in the basement. And we had a treadmill then. And your mother and I were sitting on the couch. And somehow you were near the treadmill, and then you just start taking some steps toward the couch, and you took about 3 or 4 steps. You were 11 months old. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, here we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Now we're making things happen.
That makes sense because I was born in the 11th month. So
yeah, it was October. I was excited. I'm like, yes, we're getting somewhere now. Kiani, it was in June before your first birthday, and we were at my friend Keisha's house, and we were in her basement, and you were sitting on the floor, and you stood up, and then you started walking. So I was super excited about that as well. I'm like, man, this is right up my alley. And so now that both of you are standing strong, and all those weeks and months that you were in walkers, it's paying off. I got this huge adrenaline rush. I don't have to carry you girls everywhere. And then I realized, well, if I'm waiting for you to walk, that's an even slower time. So it's probably more efficient for me to pick you up and carry you. But I was excited about it. I am similarly excited about driving. Well, now you've been driving for 3 years now, but as I said earlier, I'm so pleased and so thankful.
Oh my God.
Bye.
that Kiani has embraced the driving privilege she has. So I want to talk to you first, Kanaya, about you driving, you learning to drive, you wanting to drive, and just pick your brain about what that time in your life was like, how I sort of pushed you in that direction, and what are some things that you can give to your sister as she now becomes more regular in her driving.
Okay, where am I starting at?
Wherever you want to.
Well, I started driving.
Start on the golf course.
Okay, so my dad he enjoys golfing. So we would like to go. I wanted to go just to drive the golf cart because I thought it was so cool. Driving used to fascinate me because I would be like, how you make the car do these things with what you have in the driver's seat. Like, I remember wondering, how does the blinker just go off? Like, you don't touch anything. You turn it on, but you don't turn it off. So stuff like that, I will be watching him drive, or my mom or anybody, and I'm just like, wow, it does that. I want to know how it does that. But the golf course, we used to love to drive the golf cart. I was pretty good, I would say, when he started letting me drive that. Starting to drive a car. I took range in 2019. So that was about 5 years ago. I got my license in 2020. Driving, the first experience, I was definitely nervous because we've always had bigger cars or trucks, and it's different driving a car versus like a big SUV because we had
Ford Explorers and
was I
Honda
driving when we had the
Odyssey.
Explorer?
We had the Ford Explorer.
Yeah.
We
Was I driving then though?
no.
I think I learned in the Tahoe.
You learned in the Tahoe, and we've
And we
always
had
had the
the
minivan.
Odyssey, which
Oh
is the
yeah.
minivan.
Right.
So that was my first experience. And so naturally, you have to be spatially aware. Then the size of the car, because that impacts your lane spacing, your parking,
You're
uh,
turning.
Everything.
turning. My first car that was mine was a car.
A
So
sedan.
naturally, when I started, right, a sedan. When I started driving my own car, it was much easier in some respects because it was so much smaller. So I didn't have to, okay, I'm about to run over something because the back of the car is like way back there. And, I'm up here. So driving was nerve-wracking at first because I I like to be in control. I don't like when I'm in something or doing something and I don't have the say over the outcome of what this is. So I'm like, I need to know, how to maneuver properly. So it was nerve-wracking because it's like when you get in a car, you're driving your car and they teach you how to drive aggressively and how to drive for others. But essentially that means you have to be processing what kind of decision will this driver make. You're not driving their vehicle. So having to get through that mindset was, I don't think it was hard, it was just new and it was intimidating because unfortunately driving is something that can be fatal if something, drastic happens. And so having to process through that mindset of, okay, not allowing that to kind of cripple you because when you focus too much on that, then you drive with anxiety. But I was excited to drive, and once I got comfortable, because I don't, again, being the older one, I don't have a me. When Kiani wanted to go places, she would just come ask me, and most times I'm gonna say yes because I don't really have a real reason to say no unless I was actually busy. So with me, it was just like, okay, either you're gonna have to figure this out or you're gonna be at home. And I remember when I started driving, I started working more. So I'm like, the car is the key to everything I need to be right now. So learning to drive was fun for me. It still is fun to me. Um, it is definitely the foundation on which my life runs right now because I can go where I want to, when I want to go, how I want to go, with whoever I want to go with. Because when I'm ready to go, I can leave or whatever the case is. And so I was super excited to learn how to drive. And I got to learn in the summer. So I was pretty good by the time the winter came around because winter in Chicago is going to be snowing and there's ice and it's cold. So that was, I got lucky on that one, but driving is a pretty cool experience for me.
It was neat for me, and the reason why I wanted to have you start on the golf course with the golf course stories was because it did two things. A, it gave us time to spend together, doing something leisurely. Um, it helped us. It enabled us to get outside. We
Yeah.
were outside enjoying decent weather. Um, but also I knew it was a safe place for you to learn the basic fundamentals of driving a golf cart, learning how to use the brake, the accelerator, and the steering wheel. You already are very coordinated, both of you are, because you dance. And so I knew your hand-eye coordination, hand-eye foot coordination would be good. But it was a safe place for you to learn how to stay in your lane. When the golf courses have cart paths, for you to stay on the cart path, to not veer over onto the grass, because that's teaching you to stay within the lines when you get onto a street. You're learning how to control your speed. You're learning how to turn under control. You're learning how to stop. You're learning how to go in reverse. So I knew the golf course was a fun, safe, interactive place for both of you to learn how to drive. Your sister has some different stories of golf course driving, and so I'll let you tell those now.
Okay, so I've never been like eagerly excited about driving. When I'm in the car, I'm not like, I was never like, I'm like, oh, certain things were cool, but I was never like, oh, I wonder how that works. That's just not me. I'm more of I take car trips and car rides as a time to kind of relax. Like if I'm in the car, I generally want to listen to music or I have my headphones on because I like
She's
that.
not the one driving, basically.
Yeah, I
Correct.
like the
So she's napping.
yes, I
She's
like
getting chauffeured.
Right.
yes.
Ubered.
So like when we would go
Right.
golf to the golf course and like Naya would be driving, I would just sit in the middle and just let the breeze kind of. It's like it was just a fun experience. So when I started driving, I'm like, this is whack. Like this is terrible. My golf course stories are much different from yours. I've run over a couple bushes. I've hit a couple signs, but like everybody has moments. Like okay, like to be quite honest, the bush thing was okay. It was like I don't even want to say that's like 100%. I'll say 90% of the fault for that, but like it
Who's
was
gonna take the other 10%?
that bush.
Right, the bush has been sitting there
Yes,
for
the
how
bush gonna
long?
have to eat. He gonna have to take the L on that one because like, come on, like
Oh,
who puts stuff like that near places where golf carts move? Like, I mean, like
Yeah, who puts bushes in grass and not in
God.
yeah,
grass?
Right.
yes,
The
like
same
that's
way they
so
have trees on the side of the road. Like,
exactly. That's so weird. Like, who does that? But yeah, I've never been too just like, oh my goodness, I get to drive, yay! But like I said, it's a rite of passage, so I had to learn. I did range, starting in January of 2023. So it was snow on the ground. It was icy. It was wet. It was cold. Like I never forget the first day of range. We had to wait while they cleared the pathways for the cars to go. Mind you, we were standing outside. So I'm standing there, I'm like, so I gotta drive, it's cold. There's a lot of cons to this pros thing, y'all. Like, this is not cool. So then we get in the car, and the car I get in, the heat ain't working. Man. And then they had us rolling the windows down. So my driving, it's just like every time like the idea or the happening of driving has occurred, it's not good for me. But as time went on, I got better at it. I passed range with an A. So like when I got the way Chicago is set up, if you pass range, you get a waiver. You don't have to take the driving test at the DMV. So I didn't have to take the driving test. So I got my license. After I got my license in August, came back. I still wasn't doing much solo driving on my own. Still having them take me places. I mean, I had the license, so like when people ask, I tell them, "Yeah, girl, I got my license. You driving? No, ma'am."
right.
And then I want to say, like every once in a while, I would drive to school, or I would drive home from like rehearsals and stuff like that, or I would drive like to our uncle's house, or like I remember when I went home to visit, I drove myself to the airport with him in the car. But now, like since December, I've been driving places like by myself. So now I'm getting used to it, and I'm finding a style of driving that's comfortable for me. I listen to music when I drive. Like I can't drive in silence because I notice like when I'm in silence, I think about it too much, and like in the sense of like thinking too much into driving, that's when like you get nervous and you start to make little mistakes. So now I drive with something playing or something. I have to have noise. I'm like that outside of driving, but I'm finding what works for me and what's helping my driving.
And I will admit that's one of the struggles I am having. You need a distraction while you're driving. And as a beginning driver, that may not be the best.
Yeah.
Because most people would say you should have your complete focus on the road.
Yeah, I hear that. I think more so it's just something like
That relaxes you.
yeah, and to kind of help my brain kind of process what I'm doing, like because I'm like that in everything I do. Like when I'm sitting in my room, there has to be something playing. Like I like being alone, but I can't be in silence. When I do my schoolwork, I have to have something playing. If I can't focus in silence, like that's like the library is not the place for me because I can't do anything in quiet. Because when my surroundings are quiet, my brain is screaming. So I need to have something around me going crazy for my brain to kind of be like I work best in a loud classroom. That's why I would
Which
teach
is
be like,
so
I need everybody to be quiet so we can work. No, let them talk. I need something to come on. Like,
white noise in the
yeah, I
background.
can't. Yeah.
which
And
is
that's so
so
again, but for me as your father, I need to give you that space
Mhm.
to have that distraction, even though it may go against what I think is the better way. I have to give you your freedom to do what's best for your safety and your well-being. So if you need music, I mean, listen, I know eventually you would get to the point where you're going to be more comfortable driving with music or something on some kind of sound. I
Mhm.
understand that.
Yeah.
I would not have, if I were designing this, I would not have put that in the beginning stages of your driving. But again, that's me making sure I am honoring and affirming your individuality, your
Mhm.
uniqueness. And so whatever you need to do within the boundaries of the law,
Mhm.
but whatever you need to do to make sure you get from point A to point B and back to point A, I'm okay with that because your safety and your well-being are far more important to me than whether you are driving in silence or not.
Yeah, like well, more so when you're in the car, but like if you or mom are in the car, like then I don't have to because you generally are talking to me. So I have something to kind of listen to. Granted, my responses are probably not gonna be a story because like I'm trying to drive and listen, but it helps because I have something to kind of focus on. When I drove by myself to school for the first time, you recorded it. I think you recorded it, right?
I did.
I was leaving, but I didn't leave because I was like, I need something to listen to. So I sat in the car for like 5 minutes to hook
I
up
do the same thing.
the speaker, and I'm like, I need something because like we going to school, like I need to get lit.
No, this chick's experience, Kanaya, was like I didn't know that about her. So when she left the door, when she walked out the door to go downstairs to the car, excuse me, I'm in the window because I want to record her leaving. I did the same thing with you, excuse me. So I'm in the window and I'm recording, and like 2 minutes have gone by and she hasn't moved. And so I'm
Me.
like, I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? Why did she lose something? Can she not turn the car on? And then all of a sudden, because the shot that I have of the second floor window can see into the windshield, so I can see her body. I can't see her face, but I can kind of see her from the chest down to where the steering wheel is. She's not really moving, and all of a sudden, she just breaks onto this dance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Drake. It was Drake.
Listen, you
That's
gotta
what you
have
get. I
a
was,
that's
I was,
me.
mind you, I'm going down the road. I'm like, yo, this is okay.
I spend time in
I'm
the car, just in the car. Like I'll get in the car to go to class. I'm like, okay, do I need what kind of music? What's
yeah, it's
happening
like
today? Like where am I going
you
before
gotta
I even
find the
go anywhere?
vibe. Like,
What's so funny is that's a key difference. I love silence is like amazing to me.
yeah.
Not often, but I will sit in my house, in my car. Cause sometimes, or at least with me, I'm doing so many things. Silence is when I can get myself to be still.
Mm-hmm.
Cause sometimes I get overstimulated. I'm like, too many people talking, it's too much, it's music going on. Hush. So I can just hear my own self.
Oh, okay.
Like I find I can't concentrate with music. Like if I need to study or get an assignment done, it needs to be it's due tomorrow or tonight, whatever. I
Yeah,
need
like
quiet.
it's just like that, like you know, like sometimes when you're driving and like some happen and you be like, okay, I gotta lock in. Like
Right.
on my
Like,
first expressway drive by myself, I had Jesus, but I'm like, okay, I can't put on no drink. Like I need the Lord to be in the car. I remember I was on the expressway trying to merge, and in the midst of the emergency, somebody just like, because I was looking and he was in my blind spot, and then he just started speeding up. I was like, oh, okay. I had to turn the music down. I said, I gotta lock in. Hold on. I got to get hold on. I had to turn the music down. I pressed pause. So I said, hey Siri, can you pause right quick? Sorry, girl. I need to focus. Both
right.
hands on the wheel. I'm like,
10 and
okay.
2.
But
Like,
driving taught me patience because how I used to drive versus how I drive now is completely different. And so I had to be, 4 years in, I'm like, okay, so it gets better. It just takes a lot of time. It also like you got to drive consistently. My first 2 years of school, I didn't have my car with me, so I'm
yeah.
spending 4 months at a time not getting behind a steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably this past semester is the first semester I have my car with me. So I'm in the car every single day because I have to go to campus and go back home or whatever else is going on. So when you drive more, it gets better. And then, things just
Yeah.
get
It's definitely muscle memory. Like now I'm noticing like
an instinct.
an instinct, like my instincts start to just kind of, do what they do. Like it's times I'm noticing my switch and I'm like, oh, you all right, I didn't even get that.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're like, okay, I'm
Okay,
catching
girl.
on. I'm catching on
Yeah.
a little bit.
I pulled up to my friend's house and she was like, I didn't even know that was you. You parked, you reparked. I said, yeah, nice. Yeah, I do this. I'm true to this. I do this. Amen.
Yeah.
Man, okay. It's my
But that's one of the things, I know I've been telling you, Kiani, it does get better. You have to practice, and there's no reason for you to have a license if you're not going to use it. And so, I think I did tell you this, Kanai. I had to threaten your sister, excuse me. Now that she has her license, if she wants to go somewhere, she's got to take herself because I'm not taking her anymore. So now she's learned how to walk. Go ahead.
Because Kiani Kerr has the busiest schedule I've ever seen for somebody who just started driving. I mean, this chick is everywhere. And I'm like, dude, I wasn't going half these places. And most of the time, because my family would tell you I didn't want to go. That's partially true because a lot of times I'm like, I had friends that still to this day we do this, but because I can drive, it doesn't mean as much. We not figuring out what the plan is till we leave in an hour. And so if I need somebody to take me where I'm trying to go, they need more than an hour. So most of the time I'm like, I'm not even about to ask because y'all don't know what time we going, what time we leaving. And the people that's taking me need to know that before today.
quite literally, especially like how you and mom kind of are set up. Y'all, especially mom, she doesn't like anything last minute. So like, and it's the worst thing ever when you're texting and people don't respond or are answering what you're asking. Hey y'all, what time you're trying to go? We don't really know yet. We're still kind of thinking about it. Can we think a little faster, please? Well, we don't even know if we want to go here or there. Well, can we think a little harder? Kiani, why are you in such a hurry? Because I can't take myself, please.
So do all of your friends drive on their own?
Yes, all of my friends either drive on their own or they have people that will drive it. Like Gabby drives on her own. Carly, Nadia, all of them drive on their own. And then my friend Willa just got a car, so now she drives. So all my friends drive. And then it was just me. And I'm like, oh.
So you need better friends who can come get you then, is basically what you're saying.
Well, I don't know how the thing works. I know a couple of my friends can't have other people that aren't related in the car. Like I know me, like I know can't drive anyone until I've had my license for 6 months. So I'm not trying to be the person like, I'll go to police, ain't gonna pull us up. Come get me.
No, don't be that person.
Exactly. So I'm trying to respect people.
But
and
yeah,
parents say.
So much so to this day, I'm like my mother. I'm like, I don't tell me the day of because most times I got something else I'm trying to do. Even if it's homework, I've already planned this assignment needs to get done tonight. So if you trying to go, now I'm like, so when am I do this assignment or whatever it is? So yes, when I was younger, I'm like, I didn't ask to go anywhere. And so when Kiani started, I'm like, dude, you go somewhere every day. Like
that's why I would start asking Naya.
Single day. And
every
I would
day.
Yeah. And I used to hate asking them because I just be like, man, like every time people would say invite me somewhere, I'm like, okay, I gotta ask my parents though. So like, it was a matter of going to ask.
I'm making plans because I'm like, if I gotta take you 30 minutes, I need to at least do something I want to do because I gotta stay out here to come and pick you up and take you back to the crib. I'm just like, oh man. So now that she's driving, I'm like, okay, bye. See you later.
Yep. It's a burden. It's an added burden because now she's out on her own.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
She's not at the point where she's comfortable. And I think we said it in an earlier episode. You still have you've learned pretty well the science of driving. Now we need to get your artistry of driving up to speed. And once you master that, I used to always I told both of you girls, listen, driving fundamentally is knowing that the brakes work, and the steering wheel works. And so as long as you can stop when you want to and you can turn when you want to, everything else is secondary. Once you have that confidence, you can stop the car or the vehicle when you want it to stop, or you can turn to avoid things. now you know you are safe. You can build on that. So that was the foundation I wanted to teach. Don't be afraid of the vehicle. Don't be afraid of everyone else driving. You can't control what they do. You can only control what you can control. And as long as you can stop when you want to and you can turn when you want to, that is 85% of the battle in my estimation. At that point, now we just need to get you repetitions. We need to get you some time behind the wheel. We need to get you time on the streets so you can become accustomed to it, so that those fears and those anxieties will eventually erode and go away. And Kanaya, I didn't have any doubt you would get there quickly, because
I was like, get me out.
Right. But your sister, she's slower. That doesn't mean she's worse, but she's slower. So I got to be a little bit more nudgy with her and say, okay, well, listen, you got my permission to go hang out with your friends. How you going to
gotta get yourself right? You gotta go on your own.
Right. And so, knowing, but see, here's where, me knowing the two of you comes into play. I know she wants to be with her friends. I know she wants that interaction. And so now she has a decision to make, and she's got to weigh the pros and the cons. Is she going to allow her irrational fears overtake her want and maybe even her need to be with her peers? Or is she going to allow those fears to lay low and that desire to be with company overtake that? And
it's working.
Yeah, of course. I mean, she's a teenager who loves the social scene. I already know how that movie's going to end. She didn't know how it was going to end a couple of months ago, but she's getting the picture now. And one of the beautiful things about being a parent, and obviously I didn't know it when I was a teenager, but I'm seeing it in spades now, is and I've tried to do this with you girls as long as you've been able to kind of process it and comprehend it. When I tell you something that's going to happen, and I can see in your faces and hear in your voices your skepticism about what I say, and then when it comes to pass, and then you all get that epiphany that says, oh yeah, my father knows what he's talking about. My mom, or even when it's with your mom, my mom knows what she's talking about. I mean, when you have kids, you're gonna say the same thing. My parents said it to me. I said it to you. It's just something that goes from one generation to the next. Your parents are not idiots. They've been there before. They know what they're talking about. And we as children don't want to admit it. So one of the running jokes your sister and I have, Kanaya, is, and when I say something and it comes to pass, I'll ask Kiani, who was right? And she says,
Coffee.
Listen, I don't want, and I think you girls have picked up on this. I know you have. I'm never going to lead you astray on purpose. I'm never going to mislead you, for the fun of it. I'm always going to be straight with you. I'm always going to be upfront and honest with you, because I want you to know you can trust me to tell you the truth as best I know it. Now, I don't get everything right, but it's not because I am trying on purpose to harm you or put you in a bad spot. So and that's the one thing I truly love about our relationship. I believe you girls trust me. And because I believe that, I don't ever want to do anything that would jeopardize the trust you put in me. And as a father, I think that's important, because everyone else may fail you. Everyone else may disappoint you. That doesn't mean I haven't failed you or disappointed you at some point. But I want you all to know I'm always going to be a source of truth, a source of honor, and a source of affirmation and encouragement for you, no matter what you're doing. And so for me, seeing the two of you learning how to drive, again, that's a huge rite of passage. It's a life skill. And you two are just crushing that. And so I also understand you all are making good decisions. You're going to make good decisions. I can trust you to do those things. I can trust you to navigate the streets, not only literally, but figuratively, of where we live, of the world in which we live. And you're going to make the best decisions possible that have your well-being at heart.
Yep.
That part.
That part.
So I guess our next rite of passage is senior year of high school.
You don't
Oh,
must have
there's
been
so
through
many
it,
things.
so
So applying for college, prom. So unlike Kiani, I did not get my full high school experience. My junior year, half of it we were in the house. My full senior year, we were in the house. So there was a part of that time that I was like, well, am I going to
Because of
school?
COVID.
Because of COVID, yes, the pandemic. Am I going to school? Because literally, are we actually going to be able to leave the house? Are we having prom? Are we having graduation? It was a tough go for me because I was just like, you look forward to these moments for so many years because I have a lot of friends or acquaintances, associates that were older than me. So I knew people almost every year going to prom, graduating, and you get excited about your chance to do that. Actually, in 2020, I was supposed to do my cotillion. We took the pictures and got the invites made. So I still have them. In the pandemic, we couldn't have it. And to this day, it bothers me that I never got to have my cotillion. And so I was like, I'm not about to graduate, go to prom. And so it's just like all of the work that you feel like you do to get to the moments that are the most memorable time of your life at up to a certain point. Because to this day, prom and graduation from high school are probably top 5 days of my life because I'm 20. I mean, I haven't gotten married, I don't have any children, any of that stuff. So those are still the most valuable memories to me. And so when you're in that space and you're like, well, am I going to get those things? You lose that motivation. I definitely was like, yeah, this is dumb. I don't want to do any of this because they can't even tell me if I'm going to school if I find somewhere to go. But applying to college, I knew I wanted to go somewhere that was warm, great business program. That's what I'm studying. I wanted an HBCU because there is no experience like the HBCU experience. And I have learned that firsthand as I do go to FAMU, the Florida A&M University. Um, they are the first school that accepted me and they have a really well-known business program. So I was like, okay, great. This is where I'm supposed to go. So fast
FYI,
forward,
she really loved that school, y'all. She was jumping up and down when she got that
I
acceptance.
really was. I ran
Talking,
down the stairs. My mother thought
she's
something happened.
screaming
Because
like
I was like jumping for joy.
I have
Um,
never seen my sister jump that high. Like oh, like indoors. Like she was bouncing off the walls.
And
yes,
that
I
was
was. Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Kanaya.
Okay. I was very, very, very excited because I felt like it's been a long time coming. And I think after the pandemic, I'm like, I'm ready to be out of the house. Like, this is getting old. And I'm like, high school is taking forever to be over because now the days seem like they're creeping because the transition is right there. But yes, it was a very monumentous moment for me.
Yeah, it was quite an experience for me as well because again, everything that you do is
It's
a
the first
first for
time.
me. And
Mhm.
so you were the first child I had applying to college. Um, One of the things that I appreciate about that season in our lives is you had the expectation of going to college. I had a similar expectation when I was in high school of going to college. I mean, you know, I didn't think there was any other option. And so I appreciated you having that similar perspective. The natural progression is go from grade school to high school, from high school into college. Whereas, you know, people in my parents' generation, for them, the option was either college, military, or go get a job. So I appreciated you having the expectation, and I think your sister does too, of going to college. Um, the one thing I wanted you to do in thinking of going to college was to do something that would stretch you beyond your comfort zone.
Mhm.
And um, definitely leaving the Chicago area and going down to Florida was literally miles outside your
Man,
comfort zone. I thought you were going to say something.
there's there's so many things. So high school graduation, one of the best. We had great weather. We got to graduate at Soldier Field. I was excited because I feel like that's the moment where you like my childhood is over, which is very scary, but it's also very exciting. It's liberating. Going to college it was something that I wanted to do. Most of my family was within a certain amount of time from where we grew up. Neither of my parents left the state. And I felt like because I went to a grammar school in an elementary school originally that most of my family had gone to, then we transferred somewhere else and I kind of charted my own path. And then I went to a high school that I had family members before me. I was just like, I don't want to be somewhere where I cannot figure out who Kanaya is because everybody's like, your dad wouldn't do it like that, or your aunt wouldn't approve of that, or whatever. And so I'm like, I cannot stay close. I knew several things about staying close. I wanted a chance to have my own identity because I felt like in school, especially, I'm trying to meet the bar that's already there. So I'm like, I got to get the grade. I really wasn't like, okay, what do I like to do? What am I comfortable doing? What scares me? What do I need to get more involved in? So college for me was get out of your immediate vicinity because I needed to figure out who is Kanaya, the individual. But also, I didn't want my livelihood or my career to be so dependent on my family and my friends that it's just like if they're not functioning, my life is on hold. That's a no for me. And I wanted to get out and be like, okay, this is my life that I created and I want to do this and I have to figure out how to do it. And college has taught me a lot about myself. Like my work ethic is much better than it used to be. Like, I mean, I'm staying up to the wee hours of the morning, studying, doing assignments. I'm calling people. How did you do this? I'm in professors' faces all day. They probably like, girl, get away from me. We don't want to see you no more. But
Well,
my
that's
grades
good. That
like that
yeah,
now.
but that's good because those are some of the things I wanted to be sure you learned. Your mother and I were intentional about you taking control of your destiny. And again, as much as you could control it, doing things to advocate for yourself. We wanted to be sure, one of the things that I did, and when we had the episode with your mom, she kind of said it, I wanted to be sure I instilled in the two of you the power of your own voice, of
Yes.
making sure you spoke up for yourselves, making sure you advocated for yourselves, making sure you had a say in your own progress, your development, your growth. I wanted to be sure you all empowered yourselves to speak up for yourselves. And so, it would happen in subtle ways. I mean, one of the things I would do even when we were at home, the four of us, if I asked you a question, I would call you by name. I would say, Kanaya, what about this? Or Kiani, what about this? And when your mom spoke up, instead of you answering, I would repeat the question because I wanted you all to understand as much as I love your mom and as much as you may love your mom can't always speak for you. And although those may be minor things in our home, I still wanted you two to understand your voice matters. And so for you to tell me, Kanaya, how much you have now grown in your self-advocacy, it does, it validates what your mom and I have tried to do, in teaching you the necessity of you speaking up for yourself. Because listen, those college professors, they're going to get paid whether you visit them or not.
Yeah, they're gonna get paid whether you sink or swim.
Exactly. And so for you to understand the vital necessity of you taking charge of your learning, of your academic growth, of your tutoring, of you getting the help you need, of asking the questions, all of those things, it's going to, those acts, those initiatives are going to pay off extremely handsomely down the road. And those are things you can impart to your sister. Not like she needs the help advocating for herself, but those are things you can pass on to other young ladies whom you may mentor. And eventually, when you decide to have children of your own, you now have a repertoire and a portfolio of experiences that you can pass on to help someone else maximize the opportunities like you have.
Yeah, because college is definitely a place that's going to show you what you can and cannot do on your own, or in general, but definitely on your own. It was the first place for me where there was no like looming fear that somebody might find out and be like, why would you do that? Because, even with my cotillion, my aunts were my sponsors for that. And so I'm always like, I don't need nobody running back to them talking about your niece did this or said this. And my intentions weren't the way that they received it. And now I'm in trouble for whatever it is. And church, because you are very active in the ministry space. And so there's just so many places where I'm just like, people are watching
Always
me
looking
and
eyes,
waiting to
listening to
tell on
you.
me because they
Right.
don't like what I did. I remember we were in church and we called one of she's like a mentor for me by her first name. Well, older people don't understand, or they heard it but did not know the circumstance of the situation, and they went to my mother and said, well, Kanaya called such and such by their first name, is that okay? And my mom had to say, well, I will speak with that person and make sure that's okay. We got permission to do that, but this person heard it and didn't know that and just said something. And so I was just like, really? Like, people would do that, and they might not have meant harm, but it's just like, as for me, I'm like, I don't want to hear that every day or every other day or whenever I'm in a certain space. And so a lot of times I'm just like, I gotta stay on the straight and narrow so that people have nothing to say to whoever it is that they know that's related to that space. So college gave me the freedom to be like, these people don't know any of my family, they know me, so they can't compare me to this person or this way, which has been so instrumental in me figuring out how I like to operate and approach things. So hopefully Kiani will do the same, which I don't doubt that she will, because Kiani's gonna let you know I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it. And that's it.
One of the things I also liked about your application process is you identifying with specificity what you were looking for in a college, where you wanted to go, the kind of experience, as you said, the HBCU experience. Those are things I didn't do,
Mm-hmm.
and those are mistakes I made. And so I wanted it to be certain you understood why you needed to have that checklist. I wanted to go to Stanford. Why did I want to go to Stanford? Because it was in California. It was a good school. It was in California. It was kind of away from home, obviously. It was in California. You know,
I think he wanted to go to California. I don't really know
right.
though.
You
Kind of.
know,
Yeah, that's
That's
what
what
so
I'm hearing.
it's
I don't know.
so
right.
I've always gotten good grades, and so I thought going to a good school
Mm-hmm.
where they have strong academics and being in a warm weather place would be great. Well, Stanford didn't accept me, and I only applied to two schools. So I applied to Stanford, and truth be told, I applied to Northwestern. I sent my application in after the due date. So I almost should not have gotten into Northwestern. I mean, I was very haphazard with my college application process. And so I knew I did not want either of you to do that. I
I
didn't
mean,
want to go to Illinois. I didn't want to go to Northern Illinois because a lot of my classmates were going to those two schools. Um, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something that was unlike what anyone else was doing, and I knew no one I knew was going to Stanford. And I believed, I mean, I was carrying a 3.6, 3.7, something like that in high school. So I thought I had the grades. I thought I had a strong enough ACT score to get in. I didn't get in, only by the grace of the good Lord above. And I didn't know it, or I couldn't attribute it to him at that time. Northwestern accepted me. But I didn't want you to going through that process the same way I did. So for you to identify specific things you were looking for in your college experience did me good. And I also encouraged you, to rank where you want to go. And if you get into your top choice, you don't need to apply anywhere else.
yeah,
And
FAMU was my top choice and they accepted me first.
right.
And so I was like, okay, so maybe we are on to something. But my college experience has been an evolution because I was struggling. I'm like, do I want to do this? I was ready to just be like, I'm gonna just sit in this room for the next amount of years and just be here until,
Why?
because I think you're so excited. I had just turned 16 before the pandemic started. I was in the midst of cotillion. And then like this, everything is means nothing because we all sitting in the house. And then we had some loss that we experienced. You know, we had mom went through some changes in her everyday life. And it was just like it's a lot going on and it starts to impact you. And college is scary because it's just like I'm not at home. Even if I was in the city, I don't live in the house. There's more responsibility that you have to incur in order to be successful. And it was just kind of like, for me, the way I get through hard things, I'm like, well, this is at the end. So if we just keep going, we get to have this experience. And being right there with prom and graduation, something that I look forward to for a while. I'm like, I might not even get that. It's just like, well, and nobody knows if I'm actually going to be able to go to school. Well, then it's no reason to really care about it. But so freshman year was kind of just like, I'm here, but I'm not really doing anything. So, that was
When did the turnaround kick in? What was the catalyst?
um probably after my freshman year was over and academically I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. And I was just like, this not gonna work. Because my peers are getting better opportunities and all these other things. And I think you just get tired of sucking, for lack of better terms. Like you just be like, I want to feel proud about what I do or what I am producing because I'm paying for it, A. But B, I want people to have a good experience with me as a student, to view me as a respectable young professional at a school of this caliber in this field. And it's more fun. Like it's tiring. I was exhausted. I'm not thrilled to be I only had a 3-week Christmas break because I was literally like many almost all nighters, especially at the end. But I finished the semester with a 3.8. Like that pays dividends
Makes you feel
on
good
the
about
other
yourself.
end. I
Yeah.
do, but I am, depending on when you're seeing this episode, we're starting 3 weeks post the 15th of December. And I'm just like, I just got done. And I want to relax more, but it doesn't work like that. So now it's time for another semester. And so, I'm taking it in stride, but I'm definitely going to enjoy the last couple of days. And I'm getting to that age where it's like, I need to start talking about grad school because I only have 3 more semesters of my undergrad years left. And
Well,
I'm
one of
like,
the things, I admire about your tenacity, and I also had to give you a bit of a pep talk about it, but just me making sure you understood your struggle is okay. What I have preferred for you in a perfect world to have gone to FAM and in your freshman year, your first semester at a 4.0, of course. But I am more grateful you went through what you went through because you learned about yourself. And that's always the goal for me as your parent, as your father, for you to learn in this stage of your life who you are so you can better navigate the upcoming chapters of your life with authenticity. Yes, for you to be on the dean's list would have been a good milestone, a good achievement to have on the back of your baseball card. But you have a better idea of what makes Kanaya work, what makes Kanaya strong, what motivates Kanaya. And that's something that you're going to carry for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years of your life, which is, again, as a parent, as a dad, as a girl dad, that's what gratifies me. That's what motivates me. I didn't have that kind of support, so I wanted to make sure you had that kind of support because I look at the terrain of my life over the last 30 years, if I had done some things different, I'd be in a different place, a better place. But because I made those mistakes, I did not want you to make those same mistakes without me at least telling you about the mistakes that I made. And so, yes, you may have struggled your freshman year, however you define struggle, but that was a stepping stone for you to catapult yourself to greater heights. And those are some of the things I think all of us will go through. The question is, do we have the kind of support system that will allow us to go through those things without the added pressure of disappointing those whom we love? And
No,
so,
I had to have both.
in what way?
Well, I mean, I was such a school was my thing when I was young, and so I felt like I'm in college and I'm doing terribly because I can tell from now back then I wasn't really trying. I really was just like I'm here because I'm here, but like y'all can have all this. I don't.
So that's good. So we're gonna get a little bit of Kiani's story as she thinks about going to college more directly. But I want you to talk about, you know, what information, what lessons are you going to give her from your freshman year to help her maybe avoid falling into that ditch? So
So,
your thoughts about college.
Um, I definitely want to go to college, but I have different thoughts about where I want to go. I definitely want to study abroad for 2 years. And by abroad, I mean like out the country. Like I want to go to like Spain or something and
Wow.
study. Uh,
So
just hearing about other experiences and like if I like artsy stuff, I kind of want to go and get the history of certain type forms of theater and kind of experience it firsthand. I mean, the only way to fully experience Shakespeare and like its fullness is by going to London. And like granted, there are good things regarding Shakespearean theater here in the States, but I mean like he was from London, so let's go to where he's from and learn more about it. Also just for the experience, I feel like with me being such an open person, there's so much of the world and so much of the world that I want to see. And especially in school, like, we paying for it, but they have a program, why not go? For a while, I was really adamant about going to SCAD, and I still kind of am.
what is SCAD?
Savannah College of Art and Design. It's a school based in Savannah. They have a campus here in Atlanta, and then they have online classes, but they focus only on artistic majors. And they have a program where you can study 2 years in like Spain and then do 2 years in the States. And so like that sounds like right up my alley. The only thing about that is kind of just being like, not only will I be in college and living by myself, I'll be in a whole nother country.
How's
And
your Spanish? ¿Cómo estás tu español?
amen. So the stuff like that, like there are just so many things that go into that, and I probably won't be able to come home as much, if at all, and just like being out by myself. So like I know I want to do my first year in the States just to kind of get acclimated to college. I'm not as afraid of college as of right now that I probably will be in the year I think I should be. Like, yeah, it's gonna be a whole different ball game, and yeah, like your life is gonna drastically change. You're gonna have to learn what works for you, as my sister was saying. But I'm more so excited than I am scared, just because like I'll get to have like the 100% full experience of just like being by myself and making my own decisions. And like, like I can come back from school like, whatever am I gonna eat for dinner? And it's not like just what you make for dinner, even though like that's like top of the line. But I just like experiencing what it'll be like to quote unquote be an adult. Um, the only thing is like you're not just there to have fun. You have to go to school. Like I've been on a couple college campuses, and like the life of the people there is like awesome. Like I want to go to a big school. It's like the fun is there, but I forget like, oh, like I'm going to sleep and get up the next day and go do something else. They got to go to class. They got to go to meetings. They have to go to clubs. Like they are doing real quote unquote businessy things. Whereas like I can't just party the entire time. So that's what I will say about college. I definitely want to go right after high school. I don't want to take a gap year. I feel like if I take a gap year, I feel like I'm gonna lose the spark or the love and like kind of the focus for school.
And the momentum of being in school.
Yeah, and I just don't want that to happen. If you choose to take a gap year, by all means do what works for you. But I just know for me, like if I stop, I'm not gonna get back into it. And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with college right now. As far as like applying and stuff, dreading that. Like, why am I paying to send my transcript to study? I just don't think that that's okay. Also,
Right.
They've been
That
doing
part.
they've been doing that for years.
that's
So
the thing.
get over it.
The other thing is also I'm kind of learning what goes into like the application process. Like your personal statement is only like 300 words. Like I have 300 words to tell you everything that revolves around me.
Bro, it's
Like my good, like I
tough.
feel like my first sentence is gonna be, where do I begin? Like, oh my goodness,
Right.
so
Like,
many
come
things I
on.
can say. Like I have to sell myself. Like I have to sell my image in 300 words or less. Like whatever will I say? Rec letters. I'm not too worried about rec letters because like I'm unintentionally good at making relationship with my teachers and authority. So I'm not too worried about that. But like just all the things, scholarships, making sure like I'm writing the right things on my resume and stuff like that. That's the only thing I'm dreading about it.
Welcome to the real world. You know,
Right.
Thanks. I'm not glad to be here.
I am. This is the first time I've heard about you wanting to study abroad for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
So, what do you say, Kanaya?
I said that's a long time.
It is, but listen, I'm here for it. I mean,
Yeah,
I
do what you do.
well, not only that, listen, you're not gonna grow staying in places that you already conquered.
Yeah, that's how my comfort zone staying in one spot. If I'm
Yeah,
staying like, oh my God.
yeah, you're not growing, and so if you know, Kanaya, I've said to you numerous occasions, you did something, although I say I wanted to go to Stanford, and I truly believe I would have gone had they accepted me. It would have been hard, and I'm sure it was hard for you. But I didn't do it. I didn't go away for school. So I don't have that in my history. You went away,
Really. For real.
and it wasn't like
800 miles away.
right. I mean, it wasn't like we could just on a whim say, you know what, we need to go down to see her, or we need to go down to get her, or whatever the case may be. If when I was in school, if something happened to me, I was 45 minutes away from the house. Now granted, Evanston, Illinois and Chicago, Illinois, they are different, at least where the campus was. But I knew if something happened, I could get on a bus, on a train, I could get home within an hour or so. We can't do that with you. You can't do that with us. And so you set a barrier, more or less, between yourself and us, which meant you had to depend on yourself, which meant you had to depend on what your mother and I taught you. And I've said to you ladies, several times, the test of parenthood is not when your children are at home, it's when your children have left home. What are they using as those benchmarks, as those contexts to make good decisions? And so when you went away to school, I got excited because now I get to see the assessment or the evaluation of your mother and I bringing you up in our household. And at this point, I can say for her, we are extremely pleased with how you've turned out. And because of that, we have every confidence Kiani is going to do likewise. Not the same, obviously, but the caution you have about driving encourages me because I know you're not going to do it haphazardly. I know you're not going to do it whimsically. I know you're going to make sound decisions. You're going to do things thoughtfully. And you're not only going to do that when you're behind the wheel, but you're going to do that when you're in school, when you're with your friends. And so I feel good about the work your mother and I have put in. I feel very good about the young ladies you are and the young ladies you are going to become. I feel good about the impact you're going to have on the world because I see the impact you've had on me, your mom, each other, our families, your circles of friends. And so I feel good about how you are presenting yourself to the world because you're going to do great things. And it starts with the little things. It starts with how you approach the little things, and it just sets a pattern that you're going to continue to do. And I feel very good about that.
Well, as we wrap, I guess I will give my lessons or gems. I have 3. ish. Um, for Kiani for college, God is necessary because there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of change. One of the reasons why fam was so easy to be like, okay, let's go and do what we do. I was always coming home to the place that I've been for 19 years at that time. All of my close friends, like I have friends at school, yes, but my friends from when we were kids who know me, my best friend of over 10 years, we met at home in Chicago. And so going home and I'm hanging out with my family and my friends that I'm like, I have no questions about how they feel about me, how they may, move with me, around me. That was much easier. So I'm like, okay, for these months, I can go out and be on my own because I can always come back to this place. That's not the case anymore. But of course, you have the upper hand. You live here full time, so you can make your own friends. But I've definitely had to pray more, read the Bible more, so I can, stay away from the evil because people out here doing things they shouldn't be doing. It's just
That
it's
part.
it's it's a little scary at times because it's just like I have so many balls in the air. I would say also keeping the things that mean a lot to you. Um, things, people, my best friend and I, we might talk once a month because she's at Alabama State and she's doing all these things. And I'm extremely proud of her, happy for her, but we're so busy. So it's just like, hey girl, you good? How you doing? Okay, we're great. We'll catch up when we can. Um, and so because so much does change, having friends like her. Mom sent me a card for my 20th birthday. Granny sent me a card. I have those on my dresser in my room, pictures of myself. So for my on my birthday, I went and looked at some of my baby pictures just to kind of see how far I've come. Like I'm standing at 20 and I have a picture from when I was like 8 probably.
Mhm.
So those things that remind you of where you were, so because you can see where you are and it kind of fuels you for where you're going, and then your journey's not like everybody else's, and that's hard because I have a lot of friends, being that I skipped a grade, who are older than me. I think this year I got close to my first friend who's younger than me. Um, where we're like, but she's graduating soon, and so she's operating a little bit above me because she's about to be out working a full-time job. She won't be at school with us next year. We're gonna be calling her like, hey girl, you coming to homecoming? And kind of being okay with, my journey's not hers, but that doesn't mean it's not as successful or it's not as great. And so I think getting used to that is difficult, especially when you feel like everybody else's light is green and yours is red. But that kind of all of those things kind of work together because trusting that God's plan for me is for me and not for everybody else, and vice versa. Their plan is for them and not for me. And we all gonna have a good time together, just doing our own thing. So hopefully when you get to college, you will have a full toolbox because I had an empty one when it comes to discovering who you are and not who your parents taught you to be all the time. So
Okay. Well, with that, we wrap up. And this episode has been great. I learned some things about my daughters I did not know before we started this episode. So I am pleased with that. And so we're thankful for you all being with us, listening to Girl Dadding with me and my two daughters. It's been a blast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.